Well, a very good morning, everyone. Can I give you all a very warm welcome to Aberdeenshire Licensing Board. It's Wednesday, the 15th of December 2021. Please note that the board meeting is being live streamed and will be recorded and published online for public viewing after the meeting. Can members activate their cameras where possible to enable you to join by video? And can all attendees please mute their microphone when not speaking? Please do not come in during items unless I invite you to do so. Can I confirm that all members have been able to access the papers for today's meeting in advance? I take silence as a yes. If members wish to speak at any point, please notify me by the instant message function in the Skype meeting invite, or if you have dialed into the meeting, indicate by stating your name and the item you wish to speak on, and I will bring you in at appropriate time. If any members lose connection or have any technical issues during the meeting, please alert the Deputy Clerk by Skype instant message if possible. Support will be available from Tiago Alves, ICT Officer, during the meeting if required. We'll now move on to item 1, which is Surgeon and Apologies. Fiona?
Sorry, thank you, Chair. If you can indicate whether you're present when I call your name. Mr. Peter Argyle?
I'm here, good morning.
Mr. Stephen Clark? Stephen Calder. Sorry, my page just jumped. My apologies.
Thank you, I'm here. I'm here, thank you.
Mrs. Marion Unson?
Present, thank you.
Mr. Alistair Forsyth?
Present.
Ms. Victoria Harper?
Present.
Mr. Jeff Hutchison?
Yes, good morning.
Mr. Glenn Reynolds?
Good morning, I'm here.
Mrs. Anne Stirling?
Present.
Mr. Brian Topping?
Here.
And Mr. Lee Wilson? So we have 9 board members present. Chair, I have no apologies from Mr. Wilson. Can I also confirm the officers in attendance? I have apologies from Keith Simpson, Licensing Standards Officer. Lisa Gadini.
Good morning, I'm here.
Sarah Ward.
Good morning, I'm here.
Sergeant Jill Flett.
Yes, present.
I have apologies from Lauren Cowie. I can also confirm that we have in attendance at the meeting Beatrice Hay, administrative team, Lindsay Kimmett, our new licensing solicitor, Lindsay Fraser, our trainee solicitor, potentially expecting Inspector Andy Scott from Police Scotland to observe as well. We have Jenny Mearns from the admin team who's doing the live streaming. We also have Clark Simpson and Delcia Borland. Is there anybody present whose name I've not mentioned? And I believe we have Lorna Ross from Environmental Health, who's undergoing a training course and has asked to observe the board to see what we do. So welcome to Lorna as an observer. Chair, that's the Sederund and apologies list complete.
Thank you very much. And to those who are joining us for training sessions or whatever, a very warm welcome to Aberdeenshire Licensing Board. We now move on to item 2, is declaration of members' interest. Please note if you have any interest to declare. If you have, please clarify the item number, the nature of the declaration, and whether or not you will leave the meeting. Silence means there's no interest to declare. So if so, we move on to item 3, is resolution of equalities. Do you agree the resolution of equalities?
Agreed.
Yes. If you do not agree, yes. So that's everyone agreed with that. Thank you very much indeed. Item number 4 on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the last meeting. So is someone like to move that it's a correct minute of the last meeting, please?
I move that they are agreed, Chair.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Stirling. I take it that is agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you very much for that. Move on to The first substantial item on the agenda, item 5, application for premises, provisional premises licence, non-contentious. I'll hand over to our Deputy Clerk, Fiona. Number 1 is Brewtown CB Limited in Peterhead.
Thank you, Chair. Brewtown is already an established business within Peterhead. They have, excuse me, a microbrewery and cafe located within Peterhead. This is the premises next door. The premises are seeking to offer both on and off sales, as well as offering conferences, facilities, receptions, club or other groups, brewery tours, classes, training, educational visits and tasting sessions, beer pairing evenings, business events, charity events and small organised private events. The core on and off sales are as listed in your report, and seasonal variations will apply. You can see from the report that representations were made. A lot of work has been done with the applicant to get this application to a stage where it can be dealt with as non-contentious. The applicant has made amendments to the application, as you can see on page 16, following the responses made by the consultees, has agreed the local conditions, and there are no conditions that are specific to this application.
Thank you very much indeed. Quite straightforward, this one, non-contentious. Are we happy to agree?
Agreed.
Silence. Yes, I'll take silence as that we agree. Number 2 is the Olive House, which is in West Hill. Fiona, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is a new premises. We are offering dine-at-home hampers, which will include alcohol, and they're operating on a click and collect and home delivery sales basis only. The police and LSO recommended conditions, and the conditions have been accepted, and you'll see that there are specific conditions relating to age verification for deliveries and online sales in addition to the local conditions.
Yes, again, as I say, non-contentious, no objections, so we're happy to agree the Olive House. Yes, I take it silence means that we agree. So if that's the case, move on to number 3, is the Perfect Platter at Old Meldrum Road in Brewery.
This is almost identical to the last application, Chair. Premises are going to offer food and drink as a dining experience for sale by way of click and collect and home delivery. You will see that the local conditions and specific conditions are the same. There is one point of clarification, because the report does indicate the applicant has submitted a certificate of compliance, but I have confirmed from colleagues that the recommendation is to grant the application in principle, subject to receipt of the certificate of confirmation, which has not been lodged.
So again, subject to that condition there, subject to it being put forward, are we happy to agree in principle? Okay, thank you very much. So with that condition on it, thank you. Now move on, board members, to item 6, applications for major variations, non-contentious, and the first one is Anderson's at number 8 in Gallihill Road in Fraserburgh. Fiona, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm delighted that this one is able to come to the board today. It has taken almost a year to process this application. The completion certificate was issued yesterday, and you can see from the application that the licence holder is adding on-sale hours, adding alcohol deliveries and online sales, amending seasonal variations to include tasting events and opening Sundays before Christmas and Hogmanay, and on Sundays throughout the year for tasting groups, adding activities to include the on-sale activities such as conferences, pipers playing in the music recorded music playing, children and young persons access for on sales. You can see that the alcohol capacity for off sales is actually reduced, and the layout of the premises has changed to include new alcohol displays, a new coffee area, a tasting room and tasting table, and fridges for new delicatessen products. You can see that the applicant has agreed all local and specific conditions, and the local specific conditions are listed on page 41 of your papers.
Thank you very much. Again, pleasing to see the various applications coming forward. So again, quite straightforward. Are we happy to agree? I take it silence means we agree, so thank you very much, members. So move on to number 2, is the Whiskey Hammer Limited in Adne.
Thank you, Chair. This premises is currently closed on a Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday to on sale of alcohol, and the applicant is now looking to add the same hours for on sale as operate on a Thursday and a Sunday. They've also changed the name and the address of the premises to remove the word Alathan, although at the moment it still appears in the report. I've just noticed that that will be removed from the premises address. No objections or representations were made and no additional conditions were recommended for the application.
Thank you very much indeed. So we're quite happy, board members, to agree the Whiskey Hammer Limited. Thank you very much. Item 3 now is the Bam Springs Hotel in Bam.
Thank you, Chair. You will recall that this was deferred from the last board meeting as we spotted an error on the layout plans. The error was that some of the canopies that formed part of the application had not been shown on the plans. I can confirm that we now have amended plans. The variation is to provide a covered indoor eating area to the left of the restaurant outside, to change the balcony area in the front of the bar to an outdoor eating area and place a permanent canopy above this area, to place a permanent canopy over the function outdoor eating and drinking area, and to amend the capacity figure in the operating plan in light of the proposed changes. There were some recommendations made by the LSO and building standards, and the applicant has amended the application in response to those and agreed the conditions set out in page 44 of the report, and there are no specific conditions in respect of this application.
No, and again, I think it's quite pleasing to see, our officers working hand in hand with the trade, to get things right, and certainly very helpful as well. So, with the Bam Springs Hotel, we're happy to agree. I take it silence means that we do agree. If not, you can speak out. Okay, we move on to number 4, is the Arduino House Hotel in Port Elvinson. Hopefully, I've pronounced that properly.
The Ardennes House Hotel, Chair. Yes, this premises seeks to increase on and off sale hours Monday to Saturday by opening an hour earlier than they currently are. They are not extending their terminal hour. They've amended the layout plan to include the front of the building, car park zone, grass area and the wider perimeter as a permanent outside drinking area, and amending the times that children and young persons can access the premises. There were representations made by Police Scotland, the LSO, and the applicant confirmed that they were happy to accept all of the conditions put forward. You will see on page 46 of your report that there are local conditions, including a terminal hour of 10 p.m. for the outside drinking area, and there are 3 specific conditions attached to the licence also in relation to the outside drinking area.
Thank you very much. Ms Ewanson, you have a comment to make, please.
Yes, thank you, Convener. It doesn't detract from this particular application's support, but I think we need to bear in mind going forward into the future, a lot of these applications involve areas which were previously used for car parking becoming part of the operating plan for the licence. This premises, for instance, is not in a town centre and it does need its car parking spaces. So I think going forward we need to be aware that car parking spaces are there and quite often are necessary to avoid any congestion in neighbouring roads and streets. So I would suggest that maybe as a board we can take that matter up with the Scottish Government.
Yes, thank you. I think a point well made, but I think what I'll do with the board's agreement, we'll actually deal with this application, then we'll actually decide what we're going to do with that comment. So as far as the Arden House Hotel, are we happy to agree?
Agree.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. Now, I think the very good and valid point that Ms Ewanson has actually made I know it's not regarding this particular application, but we're talking about after sort of COVID has been, hopefully improved vastly, that we look at the situation where currently car parking is used, and again as a board we've been happy to support the trade in allowing lots of occasional licences, use of car parks, etc. But I think looking to the future, once COVID has vastly improved, I think we've got to look where people are wanting it as part of their normal premises licence, that we need to look at that, the safety if cars happen to park in side streets or what have you. So I think it's not for the immediate, but I think what the suggestion is, and I'm certainly going to be there happy for the board to consider that we actually put it forward to the Scottish Government, looking to the future, to look at the situation of the use of car parks. But just for any of the trade that are listening just now, we're not actually asking that that be done at the present time, because we want to support and safeguard jobs and what have you. So Ms Unson, are you happy with that sort of suggestion that you put forward yourself, that we actually do put it forward but make it quite clear that we're not actually asking for it to happen now, but just to be looked at, because these things can take time, for legislation to change. Are you happy with that?
Yes, convener.
And the rest of the board, are you happy strictly in these terms? Everyone happy?
Content, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Chair,
So,
can I just clarify
yes.
that the board are authorising the clerk to submit that correspondence in consultation with the chair on behalf of the board?
Yes, indeed. That is fine. So again, we'll get the wording, and I'm quite happy that once the wording is agreed, Fiona, we put it out to the board members,
yes,
so they can see sight of it.
Thank you, Chair.
And obviously any of the other LSOs, however, just so we're all aware and on the same page. So thank you very much for that. So we now move on to number 5, is the Castle Bar in Banff.
Thank you, Chair. This premises is solely seeking to add on restaurant facilities within the premises. The remainder of the application remains the same. I would highlight that for some reason the conditions relating to the outside drinking area had fallen off the licence, and with the applicant's agreement, those conditions have been reintroduced in exactly the same terms, and that's been accepted by the applicant. So purely to add in restaurant facilities on this one, Chair.
Yeah, I think it's quite good. I think all licensees are trying to look at ways to to keep their trade or increase their trade, and providing meals is certainly one of the various things they can do. Again, it's quite straightforward. Are we happy to agree the Castle Bar in Banff? I take it silence means that we agree. So thank you very much, members and officials. We'll move now to item 7, the view of personal licence, Olivia Smith. Again, Fiona, we have an update on this application.
Yes, Chair, I have an update for the board. This licence holder was due to provide us with evidence that refresher training had been completed, and the deadline for that was yesterday. I can confirm that she did not notify the board, and the result of that is that the licence is automatically revoked. So as of first thing this morning, there is no licence to review. I have made Sergeant Fleck aware of the position, therefore there is no need for the board to proceed with this hearing, because essentially there's no licence in effect any longer.
Okay, that is fine. So with that, we'll move board members to item 8, application for major variation of premises licensing hearing. That is the Shepherd's Rest in West Hill.
Chair, can I pause the recording to bring in the applicant to the board meeting, please?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, and we'll pause the live stream as well, Chair. That's the recording restarted.
Yes, now we're moving on to item 9.1. We will return to item 8 when we get the applicant on the line. So number 9.1 is Chief Constable's report to the board. Inspector Jill Flett, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you for that Yes, well, members who are accustomed to seeing the Chief Constable's report will see that this is a distinctly slimmer version than previous years, and that's for the very obvious reasons. For the reporting period of April 2020 to March 2021, we began that period and ended that period in national lockdowns. And as you know, the interim periods were a variety of imposed measures and restrictions on the licensed trade, affecting all, and particularly the later opening premises, which have not really traded much for this reporting period at all. So if I just talk you through the document, you're well familiar with our processes, how we will try and engage with premise license holders and managers at an early stage to prevent any adverse incidents escalating and becoming a bigger problem. And we continue to do so, although we all had to work in a very different way last year. Within the reporting period, you will see there were a total of 1,648 inspections, that's visits to licensed premises, which is a significant drop, understandably so, and within the reporting period, only 71 incidents recorded. For the processes of intervention, only 3 premises within the board's area required that measures of support. The police were very much supported by our licence and standards colleagues, and on some occasions environmental health team also. The matters that were problematic did focus around difficulties with compliance with the COVID regulations at whatever stage and level we were at that time. But that was really the significant issue. There isn't an awful lot more to say. We obviously had to work very differently. We were attending boards and committees and hearings differently, and our contact with premises licence holders and managers and employees was somewhat different altogether. But we did try and remain engaged. Looking ahead, we don't know what the future does hold. Obviously, we're in quite an uncertain period at the moment, but we will be continuing with proposed campaigns, returning to particularly the one punch, which highlights consequences for victims and perpetrators of spontaneous acts of violence, which are usually fueled by alcohol consumption. And we'll be working with other partners, not just the LSOs, health, etc., to drive forward campaigns at the appropriate time. I'm open to any questions, but I think we're all aware it's not a report and it's not been a year like any other. Thank you.
No, I'm sure you appreciated your short bit of fame as being inspector. My apologies, Sergeant. Could I perhaps kick off just with a brief question? It doesn't actually fall under the police. I know it would be under environmental health, but when you mentioned the fact that we're working with partners, I've had quite a lot of concern. As we know, the COVID rules, some of them are quite straightforward, wearing your face covering, going into shops and what have you. There's obviously many people observing that, which is good for all our health, but there's obviously people who don't do it. Even some people who work in shops don't do it. I've had concern regarding licensing, which again I know falls under environmental health, but I'm just wondering if you've in consultation with environmental health or the LSOs, I've had a fair bit of concern from people who have ventured out to licensed premises where nobody whatsoever are wearing face coverings, not even staff, and folk are moving about. And it certainly, as convener of the licensing board, looking at public health gives me a great deal of concern. I know it happens in shops and that as well. But I'm just wondering, have you heard anything or noticed anything like that when you've gone into licensed premises?
Well, the guidelines as they stand and as they have been are that when members of the public, patrons, customers are moving around within these venues, they are to wear face covering, and that staff should be wearing face coverings as well. There is obviously an exemption for people who, on medical grounds, and of course, as you know, people do not have to prove any evidence of that exemption. However, it would be incumbent upon the operator to put in other mitigating measures. For some people, that they can accommodate that by glass screens, or perhaps have an exempt member of staff doing a different role. So where we do receive reports of potential non-compliance, we do engage with LSOs and environmental health team, and in the first instance, it's the offer of a quite clear support and guidance. As a general rule of thumb, throughout this period, we've considered, shortcomings by the commercial operator generally to be dealt with by environmental health, and offences and shortcomings by individuals, because the responsibility to wear a face mask by a customer is an individual, to be dealt with by police. But of course, these things happen in quick time, they happen spontaneously. So we tend to be just dealing with retrospective reports and generally resolving by giving advice and support. But there is an exemption, and it really is for the operator to show how they mitigate the risk if they have a number of staff that are exempt.
Thank you, Sergeant. Any other board members, any questions for Sergeant Flett? If not, can I thank you very much indeed. So with that, move on to, I take it the item 8 applicant hasn't joined us yet, Fiona, have they?
Sorry, Chair, we're still trying to get him, so no.
Okay, that's fine. So move on to item 9.1, board dates for committee cycle 2022-23. Are you able to speak while you're doing?
I am. I have a colleague trying to phone him at the moment. So
over to you.
This is the report seeking to set the board dates for the next council committee calendar, which we do in conjunction with Aberdeenshire Council's committee cycle. You see that there's a bit more information this year because the table attached to Appendix 1 of the report is designed to be forward planning tool for officers as well, to make sure we meet the agenda setting, we know what day to cite the parties to attend, last date for non-contentious items, so you'll see it's expanded slightly. The first two boxes in green are the February and April meetings, which are already approved, so it's the items in yellow. The only one that is perhaps needing the board's direct input here is the June meeting. And as you're aware, following the local government elections in May next year, a new licensing board will be appointed, and before the board can sit, all of the new members of the licensing board must sit and pass a mandatory training course. So normally I would have opted for the last Wednesday of June. However, there's a council committee on already approved for that day, and we undertake, as always, not to clash with other council meetings. So I've given you three options with a view to having as much time as possible to train board members, but I'm also conscious of the fact that the 4th and 6th of July are actually into the councillors' vacation period. So I'm in your hands, board. Whatever date you pick, we will work with. But I wanted to give you options there because of the training issue.
Thank you. Mr. Argyle, were you wishing to put forward a view in this one?
You read my mind, Chair. Thank you very much. No, I think the 22nd of June is the option that we should go for. The training is a one-day event. There's only 10 members to be trained instead of about 30, which it was last time round, as we only have one board, so I think that's doable. And clearly anyone appointed by council to the new board will have to give priority to that training. I think that's the better option than straying into the recess period where people could be away or have other commitments. So I would suggest we go with that. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Argyle. I think I would agree with that. And of course, if that date is a main central committee, you are allowed substitutes, so that is doable as well. So, do the board have any different views from that? Are we happy to agree? I take silence as agreement. So, Fiona, we have that date now.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm still trying to bring in our applicant. I'm not sure why it's not working.
Can I ask what happens if we fail to bring in Mr. Barbosa? I take it we can act, well...
We would have to postpone the application, Chair, because we need to hear the applicant on the outstanding issue as part of the application is out with policy. I'm not sure why it's not happening.
I take it is the gentleman's phone actually ringing?
Yes,
it is, yeah.
But it's not coming. It's not coming through on the invitation, and I don't know why.
So can I suggest that we keep trying? But I mean, do you think it's quite fair to maybe wait till 11 o'clock? And if we haven't heard anything, I mean, you have been trying.
I would like more opportunity to bring him in, because I know he's next to his phone. I just need to get the phone to connect somehow to the meeting, and I'm not sure why it isn't. So I know that he might have an email address that we might be able to send him a Skype invitation in by. So I would appreciate if the board could give me more time.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'm going to pause the recording again, and my apologies for this.
So, could we start the recording, please?
Recording has started, Chair.
Yes, we're back to item 8. That is application for major variation of premises licence hearing. It's the Shepherd's Rest, 10 Stark Road, West Hill. And we have with us, and a very warm welcome, we got you eventually, Mr. Carol Barbosa. Hopefully I've pronounced that properly. A warm welcome to you. Can you hear quite clearly?
I do indeed.
That's fine. Okay. I'll just read this bit out for your information. Please note that the board meeting is being recorded and published online for public viewing after the meeting. I will now ask the Deputy Clerk to confirm the procedure of the hearing. Deputy Clerk, please.
Thank you, Chair. The reason that this application has been referred to the board for consideration is that part of the application is out with policy hours. There are no objections or outstanding representations other than in respect of the policy hours. So the procedure today, excuse me, is to hear Mr. Barbosa speak to why the premises requires hours that are out with policy. He has to justify why an exemption is required. The board members can then ask questions of Mr. Barbosa, after which Mr. Barbosa will be invited to make concluding remarks, but he won't be able to present any new evidence at that stage, and it is then for the board to determine the application. What might be an idea, Chair, to make it easier is, obviously the application is for more than just the hours that are out with policy. The rest of the application is totally non-contentious, and if it helps, the rest of the application can be agreed now, and the board just focuses on the hours that are out with policy if the board is minded to do so.
Okay. I think I'll just go through this part first, and we'll come back to your very good suggestion. Just for the record, Mr. Barbosa, can I confirm that you are here? You are present. Indeed. You are indeed. You're still here. That's good. Are you satisfied that you've received all the relevant information, and do you feel able to participate in the determination of the application?
Yes, sir.
That is good. In line with the guidance you have received in the public participant meeting protocol for licensing board hearings, please can you mute, well, obviously you're on the phone, so that's okay when not speaking. If your phone permits this, please do not speak unless I invite you to do so, and please do not interrupt the other speakers. If you do, you may be removed from the meeting. I'm sure that will not be necessary. Once you have been asked to make concluding remarks, you are not entitled to speak again unless to answer a question from a board member. Once the board has made its decision, you will be asked to leave the meeting. If the board requires to adjourn to deliberate the application, the recording of the meeting will be paused and the board will retire to a separate online meeting room. Please waiting in the main meeting room until the board members return. I will resume the meeting. At that point, the recording of the meeting will be restarted. So, Clark, would you like to just remind us of what you're suggesting that the main part could be agreed?
Most of the application for the major variation is now non-contentious, has been agreed. And if the board find it easier, they could grant that part of the application now and then focus solely on the hours. The rest of the application is to amend the terminal hour for on sales on Saturday and Sunday from 12:30 to 1 AM, to add outside drinking facilities and license the outside drinking area, to change the parts of the premises which children and young persons can access to include the outside drinking areas, to amend the occupant capacity from 250 persons to 454 persons to include the outside drinking facilities, and to allow recorded music to be played in the external terrace area. All of those, as set out in the report, is now non-contentious and can be dealt with. There are recommended conditions set out at 3.14 of the report that can be taken on board, and specific conditions set out at 3.15, and that would leave the only outstanding matter being the application to extend opening hours from 11 AM to 10 AM Monday to Sunday to allow the sale of alcohol to be ancillary to the provision of food, which is out with the terms of the board's current policy, which says that 11 AM is the generally accepted starting hour.
Thank you very much for that. I'm quite sure the board can agree to what you've said, the non-contentious part, so just really the hours that are out with the policy. So is the board happy to agree to that part of it? I take it silence means that we agree. If you don't, please speak out now. So that is agreed, Clark, so we'll move on. I would now like to invite Mr. Carl Barbosa, the applicant, to speak to the application, focusing on the part out with the terms of the board policy. So obviously, Mr. Barbosa, you know that we've agreed the non-contentious part, so if you just concentrate your presentation on the bits that are out with the board's policy. Over to you.
Okay, so yeah, from an hourly point of view, we wanted to stick to the existing licensing law hours. So to have alcohol permitted at 10 o'clock, we don't necessarily need that. We just want to stay within the licensing conditions of 11 o'clock.
So, sorry, Chair, can I just confirm with the applicant, are you therefore amending your application to remove that part of the application to leave the existing commencement hour of 11 AM?
Yes.
Yes. So, Chair, and if that is the case, then the whole application is now contentious. So if that part has been removed, then we have no requirement now to determine this last part of the application.
Okay, that is fine. So I think that is very good, and thanks, Mr. Barbosa, for taking that on board, because the board likes to make everyone the same and treat everyone the same with the board policies, which are agreed. So thank you for that. I'd ask the clerk just to read out now what has been agreed, just so it's quite clear.
Thank you, Chair. So for confirmation, the applicant has now removed the part of the application extending commencement hours to 10 AM. So the commencement hours for on sales will remain at 11 AM Monday to Sunday. You've agreed to amend the terminal hour for on sales on Saturday and Sunday from midnight to 1 o'clock. You've agreed to add outside drinking facilities and license the outside drinking area. You've agreed to change the parts of the premises to which children and young persons can access to include the outside drinking areas. You've agreed the amended capacity of 454 persons, and you've agreed to allow recorded music to be played in the external terrace area, and that is subject to the agreed local conditions set out at 3.14 and the agreed specific conditions at 3.15 of the report. And Mr Barbosa, we will confirm the decision taken today to you by email later on today.
Thank you very much. Could I just say, Mr Barbosa, on behalf of the board and the officials, thank you very much, and certainly wish you and your business all the very best moving forward over the festive period and beyond. So you are quite free to leave the meeting now, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Good day.
Thank you. He has left the meeting. Now we go back to the agenda. Item 10, the final date of the next meeting is the 9th of February. Just before I close the meeting, can I really say a big thank you to all the board members, not just for today, but throughout the year, and to our officers, police, LSOs, everyone else involved, our trainees. I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy and prosperous New Year. And at that, I can confirm that the meeting is now concluded, and the recording will be stopped just in a second or two. And thank you very much indeed. Thank you.